Imagine a sudden demographic shift in the United States where the male population decreases by 20%. This means that 1 out of every 5 men is no longer part of the population. Such a dramatic change in the gender composition of a country would have far-reaching and profound consequences across nearly every facet of society. From the economy and labor markets to family structures, social dynamics, politics, culture, and even national security. To understand the magnitude of this scenario, consider that as of the latest census estimates, the US population is roughly 330 million people, with males making up about 49% of that number, approximately 161 million men. A 20% reduction in that group would mean losing more than 32 million men from the population. This is akin to the entire population of California disappearing almost overnight except only men. The ripple effects would be enormous, and the process of adapting to this new demographic reality would be challenging and multifaceted. From a biological and demographic standpoint, men and women have different population dynamics. Typically, males have slightly higher mortality rates at nearly every age due to a variety of health, behavioral, and genetic factors. Historically, male populations have sometimes fluctuated sharply due to wars, pandemics, and social crises. However, a sudden 20% decrease is unprecedented in recent history and would therefore create shocks unlike anything seen before. The causes behind such a demographic shift would matter greatly, whether due to increased mortality rates from disease, war, social factors, or a combination of reasons such as health crises, environmental catastrophes, or significant migration patterns. For the purpose of this analysis, we will focus primarily on the consequences of this change rather than the causes, though the origin would certainly shape some of the responses. Economically, the reduction in male population by 20% would profoundly affect the labor force. Men still constitute a significant proportion of workers in many sectors, particularly those involving manual labor, construction, manufacturing, transportation, and certain branches of the military and law enforcement. A sharp decline in men would cause labor shortages in these critical areas unless offset by increased female participation, automation, or immigration. The labor shortage could drive wages higher in male-dominated industries, incentivizing automation technologies and potentially accelerating the shift toward AI and robotics in the workplace. At the same time, companies would have to invest in retraining and hiring from underrepresented groups to fill gaps. Women might enter professions traditionally dominated by men at a faster pace, leading to shifts in workplace culture and gender dynamics. On the flip side, industries dominated by female workers may see less direct disruption in workforce numbers, but could face increased demand as men's absence affects family and consumer behavior. The impact on economic productivity would depend heavily on how quickly and effectively the labor market adapts. A sudden drop in the working-age male population would reduce the overall labor force participation rate, potentially lowering GDP in the short term. However, innovation and shifts in labor practices could eventually mitigate losses. Socially, a 20% decline in men would change family structures and relationships. The imbalance in the male-to-female ratio would affect dating, marriage, and fertility rates. Women may face greater competition for partners, leading to changes in social norms regarding relationships, family formation, and parenting. The traditional nuclear family model might evolve or become less prevalent, potentially increasing rates of single-parent households or alternative family arrangements. Fertility rates could decline if fewer men are available for reproduction, leading to longer-term demographic challenges such as population aging and shrinking workforce size. Society might respond by incentivizing family formation, assisted reproductive technologies, or changes in immigration policy to balance the population. Psychologically and culturally, the absence of a significant portion of men could influence social dynamics, gender roles, and perceptions of masculinity. Traditional male roles in society, whether as breadwinners, protectors, or community leaders, might be reevaluated or transformed. Women might take on more leadership roles politically, economically, and socially. On the other hand, the men who remain might face unique psychological pressures or changes in social expectations. There could be shifts in male identity and how masculinity is expressed and perceived. Politically, a 20% decrease in men could influence voting patterns, policy priorities, and representation. Men and women often have differing political views and participation rates, so a shift in population balance could lead to changes in government policies on everything from education and healthcare to defense and social services. Defense and national security could be profoundly affected. Men make up the majority of active-duty military personnel in the U.S. A substantial decrease in the male population would shrink the pool of eligible recruits and potentially impact military readiness and capability. The armed forces might have to accelerate integration of women, increase reliance on technology and drones, or rethink recruitment and training strategies. Law enforcement and emergency services, which also have a high percentage of male workers, would face similar challenges. Public health implications would be both a cause and consequence of this demographic shift. The reasons behind the male population decline, such as disease, violence, or health disparities, would spotlight urgent public health issues. Healthcare systems would need to adapt to a changing population with different medical needs and service demands. Men typically have higher rates of certain health conditions, such as heart disease and substance abuse. A smaller male population could reduce the overall disease burden in some respects, but increase healthcare demand related to mental health and social isolation for survivors and the population at large. Urban and rural community dynamics would shift. Some regions with higher male populations, due to industries such as mining, oil, or manufacturing, might experience sharper demographic and economic disruptions. Real estate markets could be affected by changing demand for housing as population distribution changes. Education systems might face shifts in enrollment patterns and gender balance in classrooms. Schools might adapt curricula and programs to a more female-majority student body. Culturally, the arts, sports, and entertainment industries could evolve. Sports leagues that rely on male athletes might experience talent shortages or changes in audience composition. Artistic expression and cultural production could reflect new social realities and gender balances. The legal system and criminal justice might see changes as well. Men are statistically more likely to be involved in crime as perpetrators and victims. A reduction in male population could impact crime rates and law enforcement practices. Immigration policy might shift to compensate for labor shortages and demographic imbalances. The U.S. could become more open to male immigrants to restore population equilibrium and economic productivity. Technological adoption could accelerate as industries seek solutions to labor shortages caused by reduced male workforce. Automation, AI, and remote work technologies could help fill gaps and transform the nature of work itself. Historically, gender imbalances caused by wars or pandemics have led to social upheaval, but also to progress in gender equality and social innovation. This scenario would force society to rethink many assumptions about gender roles and social organization. Religious and cultural attitudes might evolve or become contested in response to the new realities. Traditional views on family, gender, and society might clash with emerging norms. Environmental impacts could be indirect but meaningful. Changes in population distribution and consumption patterns might affect urban sprawl, transportation, and resource use. In conclusion, a sudden 20% decrease in the male population of the USA would be a transformative event with far-reaching consequences. Economically, socially, politically, and culturally, the country would face both challenges and opportunities as it adapts to a new demographic reality. The resilience and creativity of the American people would be tested as they navigate this unprecedented shift. Thank you for watching this deep dive into what would happen if the number of men in the USA declined by 20%. Please like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking explorations of possible futures. Leave your thoughts in the comments. How do you think such a demographic change would affect your community?